Okay, hello, and welcome all to this very special video of the Desencryptada channel. Today, we'll be having like the pleasure, the honor to be speaking with Travis Miller. He is the face behind the page of Bitcoin Capitalist. So, first of all, thanks a lot, Travis, to be here with me today.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Okay, well, you may know me as Desencryptada or as Lara also, so it depends on how I show up on your feed. And today we will be speaking a bit about Bitcoin mining, especially here in South America, and some approach to the future of Bitcoin. Why do you have like this passive income idea of mining Bitcoin as a good resource of income actually, and a bit of the philosophy or the ideology behind the Bitcoin capitalist page? Yeah, what do you think?
Yes, I'm down to talk about that.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, well, first of all, why the name Bitcoin capitalist?
Well, to be honest with you, I followed a nomad capitalist back in the day, which is a very famous second citizenship residency company. I liked the idea of getting a Plan B residency, diversifying your location. And I followed Andrew Henderson and, I put my own spin on it, Bitcoin, travel, backup plans. And if you're invested in Bitcoin, you're kind of a firm believer that the dollar is going to lose value, maybe even collapse. And that if that happens, you probably don't want to be in the US or a Western country. And so you probably want, a backup plan, a residency in South America, maybe Middle East. And, that's how I kind of got the name from.
Yeah, there are lots of options here in South America to have like a second residency, like specifically for people coming from the US, like you.
So I got Panamanian residence, Paraguayan residence. I'm getting my Dubai residency.
So you're in each continent.
China. I mean, not China, but Asia. They're more homogenous. It's harder to get residencies and second citizenship. But pretty much a lot of countries in Central and South America are open to foreigners, especially if you have money.
Yeah, because you have to show that you have some sort of income.
Source of income. Go and start a business, and they're more than willing to have you.
And do you think there are more facilities to have like a Bitcoin based, let's say, residency or citizenship now compared to before?
Yeah, there's a lot of options, and I think you look at El Salvador right now. They're doing the citizenship by investment. They didn't have that before, and if you spend $1 million in Bitcoin, you become an instant citizenship. And I think a lot of countries are going to be run like businesses in the future, and they want to attract people and money. And people that come with money, they invest, they're staying in nice hotels. And I think countries, they have to attract those people to come, and it's going to get more competitive in the future.
Yeah, of course. I think exactly like you in this matter, because us in Latin America, we have to like take advantage of this technology. And especially now because, well, as you certainly noticed, our cost of energy is significantly lower in dollar cost, let's say, than other countries. So that's why we should like all search this benefit in the long term, especially when Bitcoin will be more scarce and there won't be so many facilities to mine it actually. But you were telling me that you have miners, and when did you begin with this?
I started in Bitcoin about 3 years ago. I was a big gold bug, and I hated Bitcoin. And
you were in the Forex trading.
I like buying physical gold and silver. And then there was a website where you could buy gold, amex.com, and you could buy the gold with Bitcoin. So after Bitcoin had crashed, I would speculate on Bitcoin. And then I was like, hey, I'm going to buy gold with Bitcoin. And then I made one transaction. I was like, that was easier than using a credit card. So then I went down the rabbit hole and never spent my Bitcoin again, accumulated it, learned all about it. And then I'm like, hey, this is the future. I got to start a business related to this. And I was getting my residency in Panama, and you have to create a business. So I started a Bitcoin ATM business, and it's all about who you know. My friend, is the CFO of Novi. It's the third largest retailer. We put all our ATMs, next to the bank ATMs there. So that kind of launched it. Then we expanded to Costa Rica, Paraguay, And then I got into mining in Paraguay about 1.5 years ago. So if you don't know, Paraguay has the second largest hydroelectric dam in the world.
Yeah, well, I know it because I've seen your channel.
Yeah, so
but most of the people don't.
It was built with Brazil, and they each own 50% of it. And for years, Paraguay has just been, they can't consume all that energy. It's too much energy, and they're not an industrial country. So they've been selling that energy back to Brazil for pennies on the dollar because Brazil's a big country and they can consume it. Along comes Bitcoin. Now they can mine this Bitcoin, export Bitcoin globally, and they can sell this energy for a lot higher price to the miners than what they're getting, from Brazil. Brazil's obviously not happy with this. So there was a boom period in mining in Paraguay for a couple of years where there's mines everywhere, illegal mines.
Yeah, I have seen some news about like government taking down miners from people.
Yeah,
but they were like farms of they were not like
so
just
pretty much like 70+% of mines are illegal, but it was a gray area. It was just like anyone could do it, and then the government came out with a law where it was a crypto tax, or crypto tariff. So if you're mining, you paid a higher rate. And so a lot of mining companies decided not to,
not to continue.
Declare. No, they decided to keep mining, but not declare that they're crypto mining and pay that extra tariff. Okay. Because they weren't really enforcing anything. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Andy, which is the energy company there, just started seizing, mines. And if you were mining without the crypto tariff, they would confiscate all the machines. And these machines are very expensive. Yeah. So that's kind of the situation.
But they would like resell them or just keep them?
You would have to bribe them. Okay. Corruption. Okay. To be honest with you, it's very, very corrupt country. So you have to bribe them to get your machines back. And then 3 months ago, it was a very long shot, but they just passed this bill to increase it even higher, which pretty much put all the mining businesses out of business. Because the only way you can successfully mine right now is if you have a direct line to a substation. So substations, where all the energy comes from, converted. It's a big, facility. So if you have your own private line, you still get like the old rate. But if you were just somewhere else in the country and you're like, on the same grid as houses and other companies, your rate went to like 6.6 cents, and it's just, there's no money to be made. So it kind of blew up the whole industry. And then at the same time, they also criminalized illegal mining, where there wasn't a punitive thing before. And now they can arrest you if you're doing it. Okay. So they kind of ruined the mining industry in Paraguay. It's still feasible. You can still make money, but the glory days are kind of gone. And what's happened is all of these companies have moved to Brazil now. They go directly across the border. It's the same energy from the same plant, and now they're just doing it in Brazil. Brazil's benefiting from all the investment, jobs, warehouses. And so I met with the top guy for Bit Farms in Paraguay, and I asked him, like, why did Paraguay change these laws? I mean,
was there a change of government, like in the middle of this?
There wasn't a change of government, and I've asked a lot of people this question, and the guy from Bit Farms had a good answer that, Brazil owns a lot of Paraguay, and that Brazil was the biggest loser from the mining because they weren't getting all this cheap energy anymore.
So
Brazil used its influence over politicians and companies to get that increase raised, and now they're the biggest beneficiary.
Wow. Okay. Well, I didn't have that gossip.
Yeah, there's a lot of tea in the Bitcoin mining in Paraguay.
Okay. But you still do have like your machines.
Yes, we're still mining. It's just not as profitable, and you have to be like at a substation. So that's why I was there. There's a lot of running around. We're moving all our facilities so we can get the older rate and be next to the substation. So everyone's kind of relocating.
Yeah, you have to move all the way around.
You have to move and do everything by the law now, by the book. And if you do that, there's still good profit, but you're not getting rich overnight.
Okay. And if I want to become a Bitcoin miner, like today, let's say. Well, today Bitcoin is quite expensive. I don't know the price of a miner, but I would think it's very expensive too. I saw that there were different types of miners, that you talked about the hydro type of thing.
Yeah, there's different variations. There's air-cooled miners, which use a fan, they cool the machine down, and they usually go into like a, facility or container where there's like a wall, like a water wall, which kind of drips water and then it sucks the hot air out. That's the cheapest, best ROI. Then there's hydro miners, which run, like a fluid through it, and it uses, the fluid to cool down the miners.
Like an AC.
Yeah, it's got plastic piping going through it, and it just runs the water, which is at a certain temperature, and it keeps it cool. And those machines are more expensive, but they last longer. The whole setup costs a lot more money. But with the air cool, you have dust, bugs, and stuff getting into the machine, where the hydro miners are enclosed, so they last a longer time. And then you have immersion mining, which is where it's getting popular in the Middle East, where they're submerged in a like clear oil, and it keeps the machines cool. It's pretty cool looking, but your ROI is not great either. These setups are very expensive, and air cooled is the best way to go if you want to get return on investment. And as far as miners, they're like cars. They're completely different. There's different hash rates, power, energy consumption. So I mean, you can buy machines that are $1,000. You can buy machines that are $10,000.
Of course, yeah, you have to do like a good investigation, a good research before buying into anything.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, like, what happens when one of these miners like doesn't work anymore?
Breaks. Well, if you buy
or dies, I don't know, like maybe it's been 5 years or 7 since.
Yeah, I mean, the miners, depending on the facility and how they're maintained, depends how long they last. Also, like if the mine's going on and off, like it's not good for the machines to turn on and off. So there's a lot of factors of the length, the lifetime. But yeah, the machines can go 5 to 7 years. If when you buy a new machine, there's 3 major suppliers. MicroBT, which is Whatsminer, Bitmain, which is the Ant miner, and Canon, which is another miner. But they all come with a 1-year warranty. So if they break,
1 year warranty.
1 year warranty. So in all the main mining countries, there's repair centers where you can take it back and it's covered. But after that, you're on your own, and if it breaks, you have to get it fixed. And if it's unfixable,
you have to figure it out.
you're just out of luck.
Okay. And have you ever fixed one of these miners yourself?
I don't fix them myself. No. We have people that do that.
Okay.
I'm not that handy.
Excellent. And like nowadays, there are lots of, like I like to call them like new whales, lots of institutional players right now in Bitcoin that are clearly affecting the price. And I was looking at some of your older videos like 4 months ago, and you were talking about how the government wasn't very crypto friendly, let's say. And at the end of the campaign, they became crypto friendly. And I wanted to know like your opinion about this USA government crypto alignment.
Okay.
Like how would that impact the price and Bitcoin supply in the next year or in the next 5 years?
Well, it already has affected the price. So when Trump got elected, he's the first pro-Bitcoin president ever of the United States, which is the world's largest economy, which is the world's reserve currency. So after he got elected, the price has surged. We're just under 100,000. Once he takes office, we're going to be well over 100,000. And he was the first president to speak at the Bitcoin conference.
Yes.
So, if you listen to his speech at the Bitcoin conference, he said he wants to make a Bitcoin strategic reserve. So all Bitcoin confiscated will now be the government's and never be sold. Where in the past, Silk Road had thousands of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
They were seized by the government. The government auctions those off. Or in the future, the government's going to hold on to that, maybe even buy any. And this is going to cause Bitcoin adoption to skyrocket, because I always thought the US would be fighting Bitcoin because, it's a competitor to the dollar.
Yes.
But with this, it's going to be crazy, where I thought it was going to be more, smaller South American countries,
like
adopting it slowly with the US and Western countries fighting it. And all of a sudden now you're going to have the world's largest economy adopting it, and everyone else is going to pile in. And these other countries, I understand where they're hesitant. They don't want their banks, they don't want to get cut off of SWIFT. They don't want problems with the US. And now it's like, hey, if the US is doing it, everyone's going to do it. And if this happens and Trump actually takes office, then it could be the Bitcoin super cycle where this bull market could just be one for the record books.
Yeah, that it could continue up until 2026 or something, right? Yeah, that's what I fear also. But what I fear actually is the hyper centralization actually of Bitcoin, because if one of these, it's a whole country that moved the world, has been accumulated over the past few years Bitcoin and doesn't let it go, I think it kind of goes against what Bitcoin was made for in the first instance, you know. I don't know, how do you think about that? What do you think about that?
I mean, you look at MicroStrategies, you're going to definitely have these super holders, but at the same time, you know, these mid-level people, Bitcoin goes to 400,000 or 500,000 people, you know, you can't take it with you. People want to go buy nice cars. They're going to want to buy homes. People are going to spend it. It's going to get broken down. It's going to get out into the ecosystem because people, they want to live and have fun and enjoy their money, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it's big enough now. There's enough holders that there is
a lot of liquidity.
There's a lot of people using Bitcoin. But one thing I do see happening in this super cycle is, you know, Bitcoin not being available or for sale on exchanges, because there's actually not as much
dropping a lot
liquidity as people think. Like the majority of liquidity are people trading it and then they're getting blown up on trades and losing it. The amount of long-term holders and people moving Bitcoin into cold storage like MicroStrategy is increasing every day. So, you know, there could be this time period where Bitcoin just has these $10,000 a day jumps because no one can buy it on these exchanges. None are for sale. Because at this point, who's selling their Bitcoin unless you have to? So, and another thing I see coming is there's going to be huge markets for borrowing and lending on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So I was with my friend yesterday, big Bitcoiner, you know, we're in his brand new car and he borrowed against Bitcoin to buy that car.
Definitely. Here in Argentina, there are lots of startups doing that right now.
So that's going to be big business. And then that takes the pressure off of ever having to sell your Bitcoin, which is even less Bitcoin on the market. And that's kind of one of the interesting things about mining is I tell some customers, is like, you could have access to new Bitcoin in a time in the future where maybe you can't buy it. And that's where miners could come in handy, is you could be producing new Bitcoin when it's very hard to buy Bitcoin in the market.
Of course, you could be always accumulating, right? In the accumulating side, and become like a part of these market makers of Bitcoins at some point, because if you have it and you never plan to sell, no one else can buy it. You know, it's a market law, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, like, do you hold other cryptos besides Bitcoin?
I just use USDT for work and moving it out, but I don't really hold any other cryptos. But I understand all the other altcoins, like, you know, it's hard to make money in Bitcoin. So everyone that's in Bitcoin and keeps their Bitcoin and they're trying to speculate on the meme coins, like everything else, or, you know, do these other utility projects because that's where you can make money. This cycle is definitely going to be Bitcoin and meme coins. And I hate to say it, but you know, people don't care about utility. Like, oh, I have this new AI coin that doesn't. No one cares. Everyone wants to gamble, and that's what's gonna hit this. You know, this bull market is meme coins and Bitcoin. No one cares about your utility token. Like people, it's just Vegas. They want to have some fun and gamble and get rich quick.
Yeah, I think that's actually a problematic kind of thinking.
Yeah.
The meme coin strategy, let's say, because you see every day people are becoming meme coin millionaires.
Yeah.
And you think, hey, but I don't really know if this was supposed to happen. Like in the beginnings of crypto, this wasn't like it wasn't even a possibility to have meme coins going on. And now
I know people are going to see the video. Oh, I put $200 into Peanut the Squirrel coin and I made $2 million. And, you know, everyone wants to get rich quick. And it's sad because a lot of people, you'll see them online and they'll say, hey, I have $200. You know, I can only buy this tiny fraction of Bitcoin. I'm going to try speculating on Peanut the Squirrel after it's already pumped. They're going to lose all their money. Or, hey, you could have bought $200 and own a piece of like the next internet.
Yes.
And even people don't understand Bitcoin is going to go up for pretty much forever. For our lifetimes, Bitcoin is going to be on this upward trajectory.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if you have seen any charts of stocks, against Bitcoin, like for example, Apple, Nvidia, and MicroStrategy and that kind of stuff. I think actually MicroStrategy had the best performance against Bitcoin, but in the majority of cases, they are just going down and down and down. It's like I don't know, the Argentinian peso against USD. It's kind of crazy thing to look at, and I think that's so crazy to think about it because it's purely digital. And it opens up a whole new level of possibilities, especially for countries that have had actually corruption events like us here. I don't know if you know, like I'm pretty sure you know, like what happened here in the year 2001, and that in those kind of cases, I think it becomes very necessary the utility of the tokens instead of the
you guys have extreme inflation, but I don't see too much Bitcoin in Argentina. People are more running to the dollar here.
Yeah, it's always the first option. The dollar is always the first option because it has been like that for decades. But bit by bit, we are having a more crypto community based, especially here in Buenos Aires, because we have more info, more technology. What's actually true is that if you don't have a cell phone or a notebook, you can't have Bitcoin, for example. I mean, unless that you have this ledger or the kind of stuff, but they cost money and people usually don't want to like spend money or something if they cannot feel it.
No, you have to get around it. But like kind of what I see happening, especially in Latin America, is the dollar is expanding and Bitcoin is expanding. So as the U.S. government prints all this money, every other currency is based off of the dollar. Their currency gets weaker. All these currencies in South and Central America are getting weaker and weaker. People want to save in dollars and they want to save in Bitcoin. So these two currencies are expanding while all these other currencies are collapsing. And it's kind of crazy because it's like the more money the U.S. prints, the more powerful its currency gets because everything is
because there's more to
using the metric. And I remember back in the day, everyone's like, oh, BRICS is going to adopt gold, all this stuff. They've been saying that for a decade. It's not going to happen. U.S. has too much power. And then everyone's like, oh, the Chinese won. Like, no one uses that anywhere outside of China. They've never internationalized it. It's still the dollar. And I think it'll be the dollar and Bitcoin going forward.
Yeah, and also there's like a parallelism between how much USD and USDT are printed and how much Bitcoin goes up, because it's kind of, well, if you have more dollars, then Bitcoin can go up higher if people have more dollars to spend in it, and it's kind of like a whole cycle that keeps repeating itself, you know? So I don't know how. Okay, so like a couple of final questions since we are like 5-6 minutes away from our final time, let's say. Is there any innovation that you would like to see in the crypto space and you haven't seen it yet?
Innovation I would like to see. I like the Bitcoin Lightning Network for, the fast payments. Like that was a great innovation because that's one thing kind of why I didn't go all in on Bitcoin earlier because it was, slow, but Bitcoin Lightning's come along. We kind of need to get more adoption of, Lightning wallets and people using it and more, into the regular economy because very few people are accepting, we go to stores and stuff. There's not a lot of adoption on that. I like to see more adoption on that. As far as innovation, I mean, Bitcoin's kind of, it's made, you can't do too much to it since. And as far as other crypto, what I kind of think will be a big bull market and interesting is tokenization. So like on real estate and legitimate companies, they will tokenize, their companies instead of having to go to Wall Street and raise money in the stock market. A company can tokenize, raise money, selling tokens, get rid of the middleman, and you can hold these tokens. And I think I'd be interested to see the innovation and tokenization of real world assets, and and not the altcoin stuff and stuff like that.
I also think like that because it's easier in a way to just tokenize. Well, for example, here in Argentina, there are some projects about tokenizing agro things, like I know, like soy, for example, or wheat. There are some real estate projects. They are not very huge, but it's normal here that we kind of innovate towards that, because that's what we have. We have land. That's kind of what we have, and that's our I don't know, like our forte, to say. And also, I had like a last question here. I kind of went out of my mind. Sorry. Also, if you had to recommend a kind of a storage, because I have seen so many storages, cold storages here, to save your crypto or Bitcoin, which one would you recommend, and which one do you use?
Okay. What I personally use, probably shouldn't say this, but I use Casa Bitcoin. So Casa is a multi-signature app. So, and there's different levels to it. So you can have like the basic ones, the 3 of 5 signatures. So you can have your ledger or Trezor as a signature, your facial ID from the app as another signature, and then like your email. So you're like, if you lose your ledger or you get hacked, like it's kind of integrates all of those. The best wallets I would say are Trezor and Cold Card. So if you're new to Bitcoin, get a Trezor. Okay. And that's the easiest one to set up. Once you get your Trezor figured out and you feel comfortable, then you can upgrade to a Cold Card. So a Cold Card is an air gap device that uses a chip. So you're like, hey, I want to send this payment. You put that information into a chip, you take that chip out, you put it in your computer, then you send it. So it's never connected to the internet or Bluetooth, but it's a little bit trickier to use. So start off with a Trezor, then go to a Cold Card, then do a multi-signature app. Okay. But I would kind of stay away from like, Ledger, anything that's Bluetooth, because Ledger came out that there's a backdoor. So if the government comes, they can actually, through a subpoena or whatever,
they can
backdoor your Bitcoin wallet, which is scary. And anything that's connected to the internet, I would stay away from, because a lot of these new wallets are trying to, this has Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, and anything that can connect can be hacked, and stay away from it. And if you have a lot of Bitcoin, use multi-signature, because you have to treat Bitcoin like it's $1 million. And when I first learned about Bitcoin, for like literally 2 weeks, I sat down in my conference room and went over all the wallets, how to store it. I was crazy. I got the like a device where I would etch my seed phrase into like metal, like titanium, and then close it. I saw them. And then I keep copies in 2 different countries, and or you could memorize it, and hey, if I ever get on a plane one day, I can go to a certain location and don't have to have anything on me and have my Bitcoin. And that's why Bitcoin is the world's best asset, because you can go anywhere in the world, memorize your 24-word seed phrase, and have millions of dollars.
And you have no limits.
And you have no limits. Where try getting on a plane with a bunch of gold, you're gonna get stopped, or a bunch of cash. Yeah, and definitely. With the world getting crazier and crazier geopolitically, one day you might have to just get on a plane and leave. And if you own Bitcoin, you don't have to stress about it, and you can transfer your wealth easily. Where a lot of people are gonna get stuck in conflicts and stuff like that. Also, when the next financial crisis comes, they're just gonna shut these banks down. There's gonna be bank holidays. You're not gonna get your money. It's gonna be crazy.
Okay, well, thanks a lot for your time, Travis.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. You can come back anytime you want.
I will.
You already know where we are.
Buenos Aires is the best city in the world, man.
Really?
I love it here. I love it.
Excellent.
All right.
Yeah. Well, thanks you guys for watching the whole video, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Desencriptada and Bitcoin Capitalist. It's Bitcoin Capitalist in all socials, right? Yes,
all socials.
Okay, well, all socials, Bitcoin Capitalist, and see you around next time.
All right.
Bye.